First, Beverly, thank you very much for inviting me to your house and for giving me this opportunity to have some little words for this project we have to share with the people through these technologies. Well, lifetime experiences.
Well,
so
we're thrilled to have you here.
Yeah, thank you very much. For the audience, for me, you're a very well-known sexologist. You're probably one of the most well-known sexologists as far as the female side of sexology is around, and you have had a very successful career. But I would like to ask you, how come you became interested in sexology? Was sexology science related to sex, that kind of thing?
I became interested because I was teaching nursing, and one of my students asked me, what can a man do sexually after he has a heart attack? And I knew about climbing 2 flights of stairs and not getting short of breath, but I really didn't know. So I asked the other nursing faculty, and nobody knew. So we had a consultant come in from Marriage Council in Philadelphia, and we incorporated sexuality into our nursing curriculum.
Wow.
And the Board of Trustees, you had to submit your curriculum to the Board of Trustees, and they told us we could not implement it because we'll be talking about masturbation and all those awful things.
Oh.
So I quit my job and went to another college, took graduate courses in sexuality. I already had a master's degree, so I took graduate courses in sexuality and started incorporating sexuality into the nursing curriculum, and then started another course at the college on human sexuality.
Wow,
So
that's a fascinating
great.
story. Which college was that? The successful one?
The successful one was Gloucester County College, here in southern New Jersey.
Yeah. So you believe?
That's where I was before I went to Rutgers University.
Yeah. Well, that was afterwards. So you started teaching human sexuality in college for nursing?
For nursing and then for the general college population. And that was around 1975,
that
76.
was going to be my next question, but thank you very much for advancing. 75?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow. So at some point you decided, okay, I will do more training or more study. When was that?
Well, I was at an ASEC meeting, the American Association of Sexuality Educators, Counselors, and Therapists, and I met John Perry there, who had developed something called an electronic periometer, which helps women to do pelvic floor exercises, Kegel exercises. And I said, boy, that would be great to use for women who have urinary stress incontinence. You know, if you cough, jump, or sneeze, you dribble some urine. And so I was helping women to learn to do Kegel exercises to prevent surgery for urinary incontinence. And some of the women who came to me had very strong pelvic floor muscles, and they only lost the fluid from the urethra, the tube they urinate through, during sexual activity or orgasm.
Oh.
So what's going on here? So we got samples. I got samples of the fluid, which is about a teaspoon, 3 to 5 cc's, of what looks like watered down fat-free milk. The women told me it tastes sweet, and it doesn't stain or smell like urine. So we did an analysis of the fluid and compared it to urine from the same subjects, and there was a significant difference.
Yeah. On
Urine
the chemical composition.
Right, chemically urine has urea and creatinine, byproducts of protein metabolism, but in the female what we call female ejaculation, we found prostatic-specific antigen and glucose, and no urea and no creatinine. And in the later studies, we looked at fructose and PSA, prostatic-specific antigen, and they were in the female ejaculate, but not in the urines.
So that led you to say something's happening here.
Something is happening here, and the women told me that there's a certain area you feel through the front wall, or the anterior wall of their vagina, that seems to stimulate this. So we had a physician and a nurse practitioner examine 400 women, doing a sexological examination where you put the fingers in the vagina and go around and say, how does this feel, how does this feel? And most of the women had activity between 11 and 1 o'clock is where they felt a sensitive area that swelled when it was stimulated. Now, why isn't that found in like a gynecological exam? Because doctors don't sexually,
people.
plus it's blocked by the top of the bivalve speculum.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's how we got to finding the
This
sensitive
famous,
area.
the famous. How come you came with that name, or who named it?
We did.
Yeah.
John Perry and I named this area the Grafenberg spot after Dr. Ernst Grafenberg, who wrote about it in 1950.
Of course, when you found the differences in the liquid and you found that initial correlation or anecdotal reference to the area, you didn't know about Grafenberg, did you?
No, we went searching the literature. We searched the literature.
Tell that history.
And we were searching the literature to find something about
Because
what was
that's
this
a very
fluid.
old paper, isn't
In
it?
1950, yes, and he had written about this fluid that
But
comes
this
out
was
of the
before the
urethra.
internet and all the searching
That's
possibilities.
different from
of today.
urine, and it's really interesting. He and Dickinson had written about this earlier, and then he had the paper on it, the role in urethra in sexual stimulation, and we thought it was appropriate to name it after him. And one thing about him that really impresses me is that his medical assistant, he was in Germany, in Berlin, Germany, and he was taking care of some of the Hitler's people, their wives, so he thought he was safe. Well, he was put in jail, and Margaret Sanger, who started Planned Parenthood, paid a ransom to get him out of jail. And he came to the United States via the West Coast and then to the East Coast. He took his medical exams in the United States, and he's the person who developed the first IUD, the first intrauterine device. And I have one I can show you because his medical assistant for the 10 years he had practiced on Park Avenue sent me an email a number of years ago when she was 93 years old. And she was, her first email, her first contact with the computer, but she was in a rehab facility, and her daughter said, "This is a computer, do you want to look up anyone?" She said, "Yes, Grafenberg." And she found an article that I had written about his life. Sent me an email, and we went to visit her in her apartment in New York City, and my husband filmed the two of us talking, and she was so thrilled that we had named this after him, and she said he would have been just so happy. And she gave me some of his original IUDs. If you'd like to see them, I'll show them to you.
Yeah, well, not to me, the audience.
All right,
well, to me and the audience.
We'll show them the
later on.
original IUD.
Yeah, that's a fascinating story. So, and I just want to comment with the audience that this was much before internet and the easiness of searching for information that we have now today. So that I can imagine. Because this was 1980...
No, this was in the late 1970s. 1978, 79. Right.
So we don't have internet yet.
So
it was...
But we found
looking at libraries, looking at old journals, that kind of thing.
Right.
Wow.
So that was really exciting.
Do you remember when you found the article?
No, the actual moment, no. No, I don't.
Okay, but that should be something, because nowadays I am sure that today many people do not appreciate what it meant to do that kind of searching into the literature.
So we decided
to see if there was something before what you have realized.
And we decided to write a book about him. But Alice Lattice and her husband Harold were writing a book about John Perry's and my work. And she kept calling me, and she had everything all mixed up. And finally we just said, okay. She said, well, would you write it with me? I said, well, we have to invite John. And then there were 4 authors. And I said, and I don't want your contract. So we got a new contract, and that's how we have 3 authors: Alice Lattice, her husband stepped down, myself, and John Perry. And we each were responsible for 2 of the chapters. So we had 6 chapters, and we were very careful to make sure that we didn't set this up as a goal. We wanted it to be this is some experience that some women have. We don't want to see, and we say this throughout the book, we don't want to see you set up finding the Gravenberg spot or experiencing female ejaculation as a goal that you have to achieve. In fact, I don't use the word achieve or reach orgasm. I talk about experiencing orgasm, and that was important to me.
It was originally meant, I remember reading that at that time, because at that time I was already in the field, as recognizing a diversity of experiences that many times was confused with urinary incontinence, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
But it became very, very famous. Now nobody knows about the G-spot, which is the same spot you were talking about. But now,
well, the G-spot came about because the publisher didn't want the Gravenberg spot
that was too
as the title, so it became the G-spot, and that's how that came about.
I see.
It was by the publisher. So it was kind of an exciting time, and before we wrote the book, some local writer, newspaper writer, had heard about the work that we were doing and interviewed me. And this is way old, but Phil Donahue had a show. It was very popular.
Yeah.
And he invited me to be on the show and to bring a psychologist and a medical doctor with me. And Marty Weisberg, who just was fascinated by this OBGYN, and Bill Staten, who's a sex therapist, came with me. And I received over 5,000 letters from men and women thanking me for helping them to feel normal. People who even had had surgery to correct it, or who had stopped experiencing orgasm because of being embarrassed and not what was happening.
Considered
abnormal or
incontinent.
Incontinent.
Yeah.
So that was. So those letters are now with my archives at the Kinsey Institute, and it was really, we used some of the quotes from some of the people in the book as we wrote it, and it was really an exciting time.
Well, you're certainly probably best known for this history, which dates back to 1980. When you published the book? 1981?
82 the book came out.
And then...
And our research articles came out in the Journal of Sex Research in 1981.
Yeah.
We had, one was a case study of a woman who experiences female ejaculation. Another was the difference in the pelvic muscle strength of the women who experienced female ejaculation and the women who did not. And
so this was landmark study, a combination of focusing on something that was not clearly understood.
Right.
But that is by far the only thing you have done for sexuality, for sexology, for science of sex.
No, it's not the only thing.
No, by far the only thing.
My whole research goal has been to validate the sensual and sexual experiences that women report as pleasurable, from validating the fact that women do experience orgasm from imagery. Women with complete spinal cord injury can experience orgasm, and we have looked not only at their physiological responses, but we've looked at their brain, doing we've started with PET scans, but functional MRIs of the brain, and the same areas are activated.
In that area you were also very pioneering, because when you started doing those studies, well, there weren't that many people producing MRIs, functional MRIs of the brain.
No, there was no one doing it at that time with women.
Now it's an explosion.
Yeah,
There's really a lot of information on that, but that was also pioneering work.
Thank you. It was, but it was, we wanted to find out what was going on. And my doctorate's in neurophysiology, so it just made sense to me. Let's see what's going on in the brain. And we also identified for the women with complete spinal cord injury.
Wait a minute. From urinary incontinence to neurophysiology, what was your PhD in your doctorate?
Neurophysiology.
Neurophysiology. That's a big...
Well, I looked at what was the adaptive significance of the G-spot. Why was it there? And I hypothesized that it was there to attenuate the pain of childbirth. Now, how did I get to there? There were studies that were conducted in rats, where put a plunger of like a TB syringe, a tiny plunger, into the vagina of rats, got a very strong pain blocking effect. And I was wondering if the same thing could happen in women. And we had women put pressure on the area of the G-spot, and their pain thresholds elevated over 45%, pleasurable stimulation over 80%, and when they experienced orgasm, which we didn't ask them to do, their pain thresholds elevated over 100%. No change in tactile or touch thresholds, which shows that this was an
Specifically a
analgesic,
pain effect.
an analgesic effect, not an anesthetic effect, and not a distraction effect.
Wow.
So, and then we did studies of women during labor and found out, yes, indeed, that this occurs during labor.
Wow.
Now, you want to hear my Mexico study?
Yep, please. That has to do with some of the Mexican styles, lifestyle. So come on, go ahead.
We found out that if you inject rats with capsaicin, they don't get this natural analgesic effect. When you inject newborn rats with capsaicin, they don't get the natural analgesic effect when they're adults. So what we did was we had women who were born, raised, and always lived in the same geographic area in Mexico. And we looked at their diets in terms of the amount of capsaicin they ate. Capsaicin is the main pungent ingredient in hot chili peppers. So we looked at the amount of capsaicin they ate, and we found that women, we did this at the University of Veracruz in Jalapa, Mexico, and we found women who had diets very high in hot chili peppers did not get this natural analgesic effect, whereas women from Mexico who didn't eat a lot of hot chili peppers had a similar analgesic effect as women did in the United States. And if you look at this across cultures, in India, they tell the women not to eat the hot, spicy food 3 months before they're going to deliver. And a couple of years ago, I was speaking to about 800 OBGYN doctors in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. And in Malaysia, there are 3 ethnic groups. There are the Malays, there are Chinese, and Indian. So without telling about my research at one point, I said, is there any one ethnic group seems to have a harder time during labor? And it was like universal. Oh yes, the women from India. So
it has to do with the diet.
It has to do with the diet, yes.
Yeah,
so it's been interesting, yeah.
Yeah, well, this is the science in your life. But again, science is only a part of your life, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
It is a part, but it's only a part, because you have many other contributions to the field and to the activity. Among them, you've been president of many bodies in sexuality.
Well, you know, the professional organizations invited me to give papers on my research, and I felt I really wanted to give back to the organizations. So I was on the board of ASECT for 9 years and was president of ASECT.
For those of the audience who don't know ASECT,
oh, I'm sorry, American Association of Sexuality Educators, Counselors, and Therapists. And then there's another group, the Society for the Scientific Study of Sexuality, and I was on their board for 8 years and was president of, we call it Quad S, and I was the only person who had been president of both organizations. And I've been on the board of the International Society for the Study of Women's Sexual Health and the Foundation for the Scientific Study of Sexuality, and then of course with you on the board of the World Association for Sexology, and then that became the World Association for Sexual Health. So I felt I was giving back to the organizations for supporting me earlier in my research.
Wow, that's very, very moving, I should say. I hope everybody who receives this will be as willing to give back. But and besides that, well, your research and your fame has taken you all over the world, hasn't it?
Yes, it has. We've been very, very blessed. We've been to 97 countries now. Most of them I've been invited to speak in, which is really quite an honor. It really is. And also my research has received a number of awards. I counted one day, and there were over 115, but 2 that are especially important to me were in 2006, it was the 50th anniversary of a journal called The New Scientist, and they named the 50 most influential scientists in the world, and I was one of them, but there were only 5 women so named, and I was the only one in the field of sexual health. Wow. And then of course your nomination of me for the gold medal for the World Association of Sexual Health for my contributions, and that was just so meaningful to me. It really was.
Yeah. So many of the people who may be looking at this interview who don't know you in person should be thinking at this point, oh my goodness, what a career. For sure, that's the only thing that he has done in her life, and of course you dedicate yourself to science and so you produce, but that is not exactly the case, because you have a very nice family that you grew up in the last, how many years?
Well, Jim and I, my husband Jim and I, have been married to each other for 53 years, and we have 2 adult children, and our son has 3 children. The last one just came home today from college for the holidays, and so he has 3. His oldest daughter received her doctorate in physical therapy, and working less than a year, and they now have her as acting manager of the facility because she's so good, and she received all the awards at college, which was amazing. And for her volunteerism, for her contributions to the college, and for her grades.
Yeah.
So that was great. And then our daughter has 2 children who are in high school right now, and it's just so nice to be able to spend time with all of them, and we do enjoy it. So for our 50th anniversary, and I can show you a picture if you want, we all went on a cruise together, and Jim and I renewed our vows, and each one of them gave us a rose with something written on a ribbon, and it was, all took part in the renewal of our vows ceremony, and that was very meaningful to us. Plus, just being with them all on a cruise was wonderful. It's really nice, and so we try to do things with the family, and we enjoy doing things with the family.
Okay. Two last questions before asking another thing from you. What would you say is the most significant moment in your career in sexology, sexual health, if you can pick one?
I don't know if I can pick one. I really don't know if I can.
If I push you to pick 2 or 3?
But, you know, working with WAS, the World Association of Sexual Health, has been just so meaningful to me. To work with people from all different countries, cultures, that has just been wonderful. And to see how accepting they are of new information, and that has really been very, very rewarding to me. And then again in Mexico, having a scientific research center named after me at the University of Puebla. And I believe there were 3 other colleges involved and the Mexican government. So that is very, very meaningful to have a research institute, scientific research institute named after me. So those are some things that are very meaningful to me.
Very nice. Very nice. Any other comment or statement you want to make for this very short interview but substantial?
Yes, I'd like to say how wonderful it's been, Eusebio, to work with you. We worked together for very closely 4 years, almost in daily contact with each other by Skype, and it was just wonderful to be able to work with you. And yes, that I do want to say that because I really thoroughly enjoyed it and learned a lot from you. Thank you very much.
So can I ask you another last favor? We are at your house, your home, and this is a wonderful place, and you have lots of treasures. Could you share with the audience some of them?
Well, I can share a number of different treasures. Okay. This is Jim, my husband. We've been married to each other for 53 years, and Jim put up the Christmas tree this year, but our Christmas tree is a little different in that we take things from different countries and put them as ornaments, such as the Eiffel Tower. This is from South Korea. Let's see, chili pepper from Mexico. An elephant from India. These are not made as Christmas tree decorations, but we make them into it. Of course, the Statue of Liberty from the United States. And we just look around, you'll see things from all. This is bagpipes from Scotland. And
That's New Zealand down the bottom there.
This is New Zealand. You want to go? I can't bend down.
No, well, that's that car. It's a little car with lightings.
This car. Well, we met each other in a drive-in movie.
Ah, I
So
see.
that's very meaningful to us.
I see.
It also makes lots of noise, which we won't do right now.
Okay.
And our grandchildren many years ago. And these little oranges up there have been on my mother's tree.
Oh.
So they're over
From 1917.
17.
Wow.
So almost 100 years old. They've been on a Christmas tree every year.
Wow.
Well, here are some of my books in different languages. The G-Spot is now available in 23 languages. The Science of Orgasm, as you can see, is in a number of languages, including Spanish, all of them are. And the Orgasm Answer Guide is out in a number of languages. So these are just some of the different languages that our book has been published in. I have 7 books and over 200 research articles right now. But if you want me to pull some of them out, this is the Science of Orgasm. Oops. That was not good. Sorry about that.
Not a problem. The Chinese, or what is that?
I think this is Japanese, I think, but it may be Chinese. I don't know. And I don't know how to...
Well, you need to know the language to understand the science.
Right.
It's over there. Here says.
It's Johns Hopkins. That's who published it.
No, original publisher. So.
Yeah.
Well, that's fantastic.
It is. It's really. And I think this is Korean. The Science of Orgasm, and.
Spanish.
Yes.
Very nice.
So each language is exciting for me each time we get another one. That's German, I believe.
Yeah, it should be. Yeah. So which book has the most translations?
The G-Spot has the most. It's 23 different translations. And the Science of Orgasm and the Orgasm Answer Guide have maybe 5 or 6 right now. But I'm sure there'll be more coming along. So.
Do you mind sharing some of the photographs that you have up there in your library? Especially those of Jean and you when you married. That's close.
Upstairs.
That's upstairs.
Yeah, that's Jim and me when we were younger, and our son Alan and our daughter Susan when they were younger. And let's see, this is our son Alan and his family when they were younger here. And over here are our son's 3 children, Kayla, Travis, and Valerie. And that's Jim and me with our children when they were younger. And since we're on Christmas, this is our daughter and her family, and Jim and me on Christmas morning at their home. I don't know if that really will show.
Yeah.
And this is Jim and me when we renewed our wedding vows on the ship.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the whole family at the renewal vows. And the youngest granddaughter, Elise, picked out and bought my dress for me. I
Wow.
never even tried it on. She picked it out. I never would have picked something like that and it looked great. So this is our daughter Sue and her husband Bill, and their children Elise and Will, and then our son Alan, his wife Babette, and their children Kayla, Travis, and Valerie.
Wow. Very nice. Thank you very much for allowing us
thank you.
to enter in this level of intimacy.
Thank you so much.